Now, Madison, most 11-year-olds are preparing to go back to school next week, but one is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries, fighting for his life after an accident at this intersection. Now, take a look at this video here. Many of our viewers say that they saw this scene when driving by last night. The courtroom has been filled with people as day 3 of Ryan Kelly's trial is just wrapping up. Now, closing statements took about an hour to complete this morning, and about 9:30 the jury began deliberating, and it took them almost 5 hours to reach a verdict. It's a bond that if you're not a cowboy or a cowgirl, you likely won't understand. And last night, 3 people laid their lives on the line to show just how strong that bond is. Walt, while the situation was active near the scene, it was just as active here down the street at Midnight Rodeo, where they were asking family members to meet up with law enforcement. Now, they were asking them to meet up here for more information, and if you look at this video here, you can see people were visibly upset, not knowing whether their family members, both employees and customers, were okay. Not only but I think a lot of people want to know, from the first day in office till now, what have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
Oh, goodness.
Well, once again, if you want to come out, you can come out today before 7 o'clock. We'll be out here. If you're not able to come out, you can come out tomorrow through the weekend, but we highly encourage you come out today to get those numbers up to help us beat that record. Absolutely. Reporting live from Coffee Memorial, Mary Coleman, News Channel 10. As we told you yesterday, the man who used this pesticide did not have the necessary license to do so. And the Texas Department of Agriculture is speaking out about how serious they take these cases and what may happen to the person responsible. ProChem manager Tyler Rich sells aluminum phosphide as a fumigant to get rid of rodents and other pests. But under law, he strictly only sells to people with a license through the Texas Department of Agriculture. And the process of getting your license is not an easy one.
There's a lot of regulations that go along with that, and different equipment, safety equipment that is needed when using a fumigant like that.
Aluminum phosphide was mixed with water, producing the toxic phosphine gas, ultimately killing 4 children yesterday. Now officials are working to determine how the product ended up in the hands of an unlicensed person.
We are working with both local and federal authorities on this. Of course, the Environmental Protection Agency, who is the main agency involved in the registration of these products federally.
Rich worries incidents like these will make it more difficult for those licensed to use the products to access them.
Whenever people aren't good stewards of the product and sell it to someone without a license, or give it to someone without a license, it just invites more regulation and makes it harder on law-abiding people, or people who are trained and know how to do it, harder for them to actually use the product.
If the agencies choose to move forward with the punishment, they would have to decide whether it would be a civil or criminal penalty.
We would have to go through our legal team with that, but they could be subject to misapplication enforcement penalties.
Those penalties include an injunction to stop activity, fines, or a misdemeanor charge. Today, we received preliminary autopsy results confirming fluid in the lungs of each child, pending further investigation. Reporting in the News Center, Mary Coleman, News Channel 10. Devastation swept through Gray County yesterday as first responders battled the LaForce East fire. The acreage devastation is still apparent, but even more devastating are the lives lost. Cody Crockett and his significant other Sydney Wallace, pictured here, along with Sloan Everett, pictured here with his family, died trying to save their cattle.
It can be going in one direction very fast, and then suddenly it has a life of its own, and it can do things. And it's just very unfortunate that they got caught up in it.
At around 4:30 yesterday afternoon, an emergency alert was sent out to residents, though it was not mandatory. Martin says, had they made the alert mandatory, she does not think it would have made a difference.
Because people in the Panhandle, and particularly in Gray County, they are so independent, and they're going to take care of what they have, and their cattle is their livelihood.
We traveled to McLean, where Cody was from. His friends tell us, with tears in their eyes, he was a gentleman and the ultimate cowboy. And Sydney was a WT graduate who always had a smile on her face. And Sloan, a sweet, godly family man. It is clear those who know them best don't want them to be remembered for how they went, but who they were. And in our eyes, their actions spoke volumes about the strong bond between each of them and the great state of Texas. We just spoke with fire officials who tell us the LaForce East fire is now 40% contained. Be sure to keep it here at News Channel 10 and NewsChannel10.com with the latest details on all of these fires. Reporting live in Gray County, Mary Coleman, News Channel 10. Ruth Hartman owns these stables where she houses many horses she has rescued, nursed to good health, and bred. She recently experienced great losses as 6 of her horses died during the wildfires in March. And as if that was not devastating enough, on Monday, one of her colts was fatally shot in the neck in broad daylight. Hartman tells us it was obvious the person used a high-powered weapon and shot the colt at a fairly close range.
I have no clue why, just some random, silly, sick game, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy the way it happened, and when I got here, the sheriff was already here and was already investigating it.
Hartman says she had high hopes for the Einstein colt as his parents are both champions, and the family hoped he could compete as a show horse.
It's kind of senseless that it was taken away. This baby just barely got a start on life.
The mother of the killed colt has been visibly upset the past few days, even trying to adopt some of her sister's babies. Unfortunately, law enforcement does not have a lot to go off of, but the investigation continues. Hartman is now offering a reward over $3,000 to find the person who did this. She is also encouraging others with animals in the area to keep an eye out.
To do this to an animal, much less a baby, I mean, oh my gosh. I just can't wrap my mind around what would possess somebody to do something like this.
Reporting in Pampa, Mary Coleman, News Channel 10. Many of these dogs are quivering in fear as they have never felt a human's touch or seen anyone other than their owners. 38 dogs, puppies, a horse, and a donkey were surrendered to the city by the same owner who gave up nearly 30 other animals just last week.
I mean, some of the issues out there, they definitely had kennel violations. Obviously, we had, lacks of vaccinations and tags, and but we're reviewing the whole case in its entirety to see exactly what is the most appropriate course of action.
But Haven says this case is just an example of the bigger problems plaguing our city: lack of spaying and neutering and no strong breeding ordinances.
With the breeder's ordinance, therefore, there's going to be fewer animals bred within the community, and there's going to be fewer animals euthanized, and there's going to be fewer that have to leave our community because those animals can stay here longer and our community can embrace them.
Many of these animals are undergoing treatment as they are underweight, and some have injuries from fighting for food, as Haven believes the situation was becoming survival of the fittest for these animals.
We vaccinated them, we're deworming them, and we're getting good quality food in front of them to help get them back on their paws to start moving forward.
In the coming days, rescuers will be traveling to Amarillo to pick up the horse and donkey. However, adopters are still needed for the remainder of the dogs. Though many dogs are under assessment, if you are interested in adopting, they are at the Humane Society at 3501 South Osage.
Had these animals been spayed and neutered, we wouldn't be sitting here doing the interview today.
Thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mary Coleman. We now have surveillance video of the suspects believed to be involved in the shooting and robbery that happened by the Amarillo BNSF building last week. The victim had just entered his vehicle when he was approached by 2 men who robbed him at gunpoint. A Texas grand jury is still deliberating this morning, considering assault allegations against a former Texas A&M football player. The Dallas County District Attorney presented the case against Johnny Manziel Thursday. Well, Dave, I just got back from Arizona yesterday, so it was nice and hot there. But what are we looking at here? Are we going to see any of that kind of heat?
No, well, not for a while.
Okay.
You missed the snow.
I did. I'm not mad about that.
No, we're kind of getting back to springtime, and